Good evening and welcome to Prime News. I'm Jen Pellegrino, and I'd like to welcome my guest host, Erin Elmore. Erin, it's great to have you here.
Great to be with you, Jen. We've got breaking news this hour, and it's tonight's Prime News.
That's right. Russia is finally making its move on Ukraine. Russian leader Vladimir Putin has ordered troops deployed to Donetsk and to Luhansk to initiate, quote, peacekeeping operations. Now,
soldiers to the border, and I didn't think he was doing it just for an expeditionary camping trip.
General, tomorrow marks the anniversary of the Maidan Revolution, where the people of Ukraine embarrassed Putin by overthrowing his controlled Ukrainian president. Now, this resulted in greater democracy and freedom in the country. Do you think Putin has strategically chosen today and tomorrow to invade the Ukraine for this reason, sort of to save face?
Yeah, Erin, I think he's emboldened for two reasons. I think the anniversary is part of it. I think that in your opening you talked about there's a section of that country that has a very pro-Russian bent, and when I served, they are not going to take this well, and I don't think Putin will have an easy time of it if this, God forbid, becomes kinetic.
So what we see here is Putin is trying to make Russia great again, but what he's really done is just made NATO great again and relevant again. How do you think NATO troops will respond? Now, Ukraine is not a NATO member, so the international force technically has no obligation here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Erin, I do think that, like I said, cyber, air, and space capacities can be used effectively. But in terms of, you saw already Germany and France kind of balking about this. Without them, I see no push to put forces on the ground, Kiev and any part of the eastern Donbass into the western part of the country, just because of the proximity of the field artillery and the troops that are moving in there.
And General, we see that Afghanistan, it's really not too far in the rear view, and so many people had a hard time getting out of there. There still are Americans stuck there. What do you know about what's going on the ground in Ukraine? Are there still Americans there? Do we know if they're having any difficulties getting out or if they plan on staying put?
Well, I hope they learned from the Afghanistan thing that was an absolute debacle. And I said many times on this network, even leaving a single American behind is one too many. We never leave our citizens behind. I pray that they've heeded the warnings, moved out of Eastern Europe.
Especially after Kamala was criticized for her lack of preparation in Munich. National correspondent Logan Reddick joins us live from Washington with an update next. President Biden said he'd be willing to meet with Vladimir Putin if Russia didn't invade Ukraine.
Oh, but after today's events, that meeting seems highly unlikely. National correspondent Logan Reddick joins us live now from Washington with more. Hey, Logan.
Ordering all remaining State Department personnel out of Ukraine, moving them to Poland after previously being relocated from Kiev to the western part of Ukraine. And now
systems are. They asked all of those questions
Erin,
of us.
Morgan, we're having a little tough time hearing you. We're going to come right back after a break here, and we'll try to get you back. Everybody, Morgan Ortegas is still with us. Morgan, thanks so much for holding on for us. Glad to have you back.
Hi, Morgan. Thanks again. So before the break, you started to talk about Biden and his terrible foreign policy decisions. But why this administration chose to send VP Harris over to Munich is mind-boggling. What is your take on all of this, and what do you think we're going to see going forward about implementing sanctions before Russia does?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we should have been implementing any sort of tough measures for the past year. You know,
for the technical difficulties. We're going to say goodbye to Morgan. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you back soon. Wow, Sheila, please tell Alexa that we're thankful for her hard work and your hard work. You guys are doing really necessary and important things for your country and the world. But over the weekend, roughly 300 more protesters were arrested with nearly 100 more vehicles towed. And quiet has returned to Ottawa, but the Emergency Act remains in effect. Isn't that action completely contrary to what the Emergency Act was initially intended to be used for?
Yeah, the Emergency Act was not meant to be issued for incessant horn honking in the nation's capital. It was constructed to replace our War Measures Act, which was only invoked once when we had a terror cell running around the country, calling in bomb threats and kidnapping and killing one person opposed to what's happening.
About an hour ago, the Canadian Parliament voted to authorize the Emergency Act, but earlier today, Prime Minister Trudeau warned any member of Parliament against opposing the vote. Is Trudeau setting up these MPs who voted to end his power grab to be enemies of the state if they oppose his tyrannical grab for power? Isn't this a chilling effect on speech and law enforcement?
He did something extremely sinister. What he did was, in our parliamentary system, if you make something a confidence vote, the government can fall and you'll go back to election. We just came out of an election. So what Justin Trudeau did was he blackmailed members of his own party who would normally have opposed the draconian invocation of the Emergencies Act. He blackmailed them into voting along party lines.
And how all of Biden's economic boasts are actually disappointments. Coming up next. President Biden's first State of the Union is next week, and even though this past year has been an expensive one for most Americans, Joe will still claim we are better off with him and the Democrats in charge.
Oh, yeah, he will. Well, Biden's speech is expected to be filled with plenty of lies and misleading stats to confuse Americans about the state of the U.S. economy. Now, it is true that the U.S. has added more.
Heather, Biden will also point out in 2021, we had the fastest economic growth since 1984. But the economy was booming in the final quarter under President Donald Trump. And once Biden took office, the expansion actually slowed. Last quarter was the first year that growth met expectations. What do you see here happening, and how do you get rid of Biden's spin on this?
Well, I think it's difficult to get rid of the spin. I think the way you get rid of inflation is by the Federal Reserve. This would be step one, raising interest rates. You mentioned 1984. That was probably before both of our times. But we do know that inflation is at a 40-year high. So.
Absolutely, Heather. And you touched on those everyday Americans, the people that pay our taxes and fight our wars. And they are voting on kitchen table issues. And I think they see the pain at the pump. They see that their grocery shelves are empty. Alfredi, the midterms are literally around the corner. 2024 will be here before you know it. What do you think is going to get issues on the top of the ticket? What is going to get people to the polls? And what's going to happen? Are we going to see this big red wave because of Biden's handling of the economy?
Yeah, I really think we are. I think it's going to be a disastrous midterm for the Democrats. And honestly, thank goodness, because I don't think this economy, I don't think our country can take another year of a Democrat-controlled Congress. I just don't see that happening. It would be a disaster for our country. You know, we talk a lot about our American consumers, but we can't forget our American small businesses.
Skyrockets in blue cities across America. Joe Biden's policies at the border, at our southern border, they're making matters worse. There's a very real and dangerous risk for law enforcement along the border as the cartels become bolder. Jason Jones joins us live now from Austin, Texas. Jason, tell us what you're seeing down there.
Yeah, well, you know, we've had multiple shootouts in an area known as Fronton, Texas, which we take you to all the time, which lies right next to Roma. And what has happened since January 1st is that U.S. Customs and Border Protection has had multiple shootings where a cartel de Gapas, or known as CDG, on January 1st shot from the Mexico side into the United States at Border Patrol, hitting a Border Patrol agent's vehicle multiple times.
Thank you so much, and please be safe.
Good to be with you.
Thanks, Jason. Well, the hits keep coming at the scandal-plagued CNN.
And it has many squirming in their chairs, wondering when the next domino will fall. You know it's bad when the network's top media analyst, Brian Stetler, is sounding the alarm.
I was told by a source that Zucker can't comment further on the substance of why he left when he did and what happened. Maybe that's because of some legal agreement. Wouldn't that make sense, Joe, in a situation like this? Everybody's lawyered up. Chris Cuomo might sue. Cuomo's lawyer apparently wants tens of millions of dollars out of this network, so this is now a legal mess for...
Well, no ethics is a big common talking point over at CNN, so we're not surprised by that at all. Amir, Chris Cuomo is obviously leaving no stone unturned when it comes to getting the most out of his settlement. Do you think he's winning the battle? And are there any legal guardrails in CNN's arsenal to prevent damaging information from being revealed here?
I'm sure that he has, you know, I don't know, his contract is probably pretty thorough. There's probably some NDAs in there. And I mean, I'm confident that there are. So it just depends, you know, what kind of information he has that he could share. I think CNN is probably pretty terrified at the fact of what he might say. In fact, he's not the only one. They're saying that it was just Chris Cuomo who was acting with his brother, but in fact, it was Jeff Zucker, it was Alison Gullis. They were all coaching Andrew Cuomo on how to attack Donald Trump, how to overboard in order to do that, in order to make up for the last 4 or 5 years at least of having lost all sorts of journalistic integrity and credibility.
Yeah.
Mayor Benno, thank you so much. We always appreciate your legal perspective.
Erin, Jen, thanks.
Now, CNN can't seem to catch a break, and neither can Joe Biden.
That's right, but they bring it on themselves. And his unprecedented failures, they have the GOP taking a page out of the Trump playbook on this President's Day. That's next. So much going on with Ukraine and Russia. President's Day is not exactly trending, but the GOP Twitter account is alive and well, Heather, Erin. Heather was last week.
That's okay.
I'll get it right one of these days. I told you I was going to do that.
This is a good meme, though. Look at that. I mean, right there. Happy
That is a
President's
great
Day to
meme.
everyone except for Joe Biden. But that's true. They played into exactly what they thought they would. Biden never leads from the front, and it looks like Republicans have taken a few notes on the art of the tweet.
Oh, the art of the tweet. I see what you did
Yeah,
there.
see what I
like
did
that.
there?
Yeah. And not only that, but did you see the warm welcome that Trump received outside of his golf club today in Florida? I mean, he's like a rock star wherever he goes, Aaron. It's unbelievable how people just flock to him. They've got the signs. They go crazy. It's awesome to see.
It warms your heart, and that's
Yeah.
what makes him what? Is he both of our favorite president?
I think definitely. Yeah, there's no
Definitely
question.
mine.
Reagan was a little kind of before my time, a little bit, sort of. I was a little bit too young. I know he was a great president as well, but 45, I mean, there's no comparison.
Nothing beats 45, but I
Nothing
also
beats
love
it.
him
45
because
and 47, right?
45 and 47, of course. But what I
course.
love most about him is all of his great policies, everything he did great for the American people, the tax cut, but also that he endorsed my son Mother's Day last year at Mar-a-Lago.
Wow.
That President Trump endorsement is worth a lot.
Look at
okay?
that.
I tell you
what.
what.
That is a coveted endorsement.
That is, and he didn't have to
There's
do
a
anything
lot of people
except
running for
be-
Congress right now that would kill to have that endorsement. I mean,
Right, me too.
and look at that. Your son just walks right up and
Walks
gets
right
that,
up, gets the
that
hug,
big
gets the
hug,
endorsement.
that big Trump hug. That's the best kind,
Big
too.
smile on
right?
his face. So.
I love that. Well, yeah, it's unbelievable how much things have changed, Heather, but at least we can all still look back fondly on the times we had under 45 and then look ahead to things being much brighter with the next administration. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us on this Monday night. We'll see you back here tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern.
I look forward to being here with you all week. Rob Schmidt tonight starts right now. Rob?